there's this general problem with critiquing games or reviewing games, or basically imagine what IGN does or what GamerSpot does. What they basically do is they take a game and they give it a score 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, or they give it a score out of 10 or out of 5 stars. It doesn't matter. 2 thumbs up, 5 paws up, whatever the score they want to give it. Point is, there's a flaw in it, and I'm pretty sure we all know that there's flaws in it. And one major one is that it's opinionated. And I'm not going to discuss that because obviously everyone has different opinions. We all understand that. Let's say it's a perfect world, right? And we can all basically agree, right? So whatever the reviewers are saying is correct. That's the correct opinion. I know that's not true, but just for all intents and purposes, it helps me explain this better. And what this other flaw in game critiquing and following it and saying, well, this game got a 10 out of 10, that means it's good. What the flaw in that whole thing is. And my example that I'm going to use is, there's going to be 3 examples really, just so they widen. I'm going to use The Last of Us, and then I'll get into the other examples. Point is with The Last of Us, right? The Last of Us is a perfect example because it's gotten such amazing reviews. Consistently 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100, all the perfect scores that it got. You can look it up. It's an amazing game. Probably will be up there for Game of the Year. I personally think GTA 5 will be dominant in the Game of the Year type thing, but we never know. Maybe they'll go with The Last of Us just for the sake of having something different, because I know people like to do that. But that's a little off topic. Point is, with The Last of Us, it's getting amazing scores, right? So then people, when I tell them, yeah, I'm not going to buy The Last of Us, I don't want to get it, I don't think I'll enjoy it, they may claim that I'm stupid, stubborn, they may claim that I'm a mindless COD fan and I'm not a real gamer, and I don't really care if I'm not a real gamer or not. I could care less about that title. The point is, they say that because I'm not buying The Last of Us, they think less of me. And whatever. And this sort of leads to the problem with game critiquing, in that when a critic goes out and critiques a game, it doesn't critique it based on its overall enjoyment. Well, enjoyment in a sense, but basically it's like overall reception, general opinion. It bases the rating on how well the game accomplishes what it's supposed to do. And this is where I come in and I say The Last of Us accomplishes what it's supposed to do magnificently, especially considering all the reviews that I've seen, all the gameplay that I've seen. What The Last of Us was created by Naughty Dog to accomplish as a game, which was be like, a really suspenseful, or maybe not suspenseful, really strategic, really, survival type game with a really emotional story that'll get you hooked and stuff, all that stuff. It did that amazingly, right? That's why everyone loves it, because what it was supposed to do, it did. Now, with that being said, what happens if I don't like what it's supposed to do? Like, a game comes out and people are like, oh yeah, it's The Last of Us, it's a survival game. And I'm like, well, I don't want to play a survival game. Does that mean, and even though it got a 10 out of 10, that just means it's a really good survival game. It's an amazing survival game. So I probably would enjoy it, but maybe not as much as other people because I just don't like survival games. And maybe this isn't making that much sense in your head, so let me give you another example. Imagine the next Gran Turismo comes out, because that's a racing game that I know, and you're not an amazing racing game fan, and then Gran Turismo comes out, gets all these great scores. If you don't buy it, does that mean you're stupid or stubborn or a mindless COD fan? No, you're not. You're just not a racing game fan. There's certain types of games that not everyone can enjoy, even though they get amazing scores. The point is that it's an amazing racing game. It's not an amazing, it's an amazing video game, but the point is it accomplishes what a racing game is supposed to do. So if you're not into racing games, it's not the game for you, and that's okay if you don't buy it. The other example I have, in case you're into racing games and you don't comprehend this in your head, is a sports game, and I can give you a specific one again, NBA 2K13, and 14 is going to come out, obviously. NBA 2K13, it's a game that my brother plays a lot, and is a game that I have played a couple times, so I've seen my brother play, I'm familiar with it. What is that game set out to do? That game is set out to that you enjoy, basketball. Basically, it's a basketball game. And what's the point of that? You get into the games, it's all hype. You get really into it. You get pumped up when you shoot a 3-pointer in the last quarter with 30 seconds left. That's fun. That's the point of the game, and it does it well. So I would say that I would play that game and stuff. But if you're not into that type of game, if you're not into getting pumped up about sports, then that game's not for you, even if it has amazing scores. So this is the flaw with game critiquing, and why even if someone gets an amazing score, that doesn't necessarily mean everyone will enjoy. You know, a 10 out of 10 doesn't actually mean perfect. It just means it perfected the genre. And then that brings me back to why I don't want to get The Last of Us, is because I'm just not into slower paced games, or I'm not into that type of thing. And then, just in case you really want to argue with me, and you're going to say, well, you like Uncharted 3, so you should like The Last of Us. I'm just going to generally disagree with that, because those are two completely different games, two completely different fruits. You know, one's a double D, one's a really nice ass, you know? So, that, scratch to the last little analogy. Yeah, and then this also explains why games like Call of Duty still get good scores. Because go look at a website that rated The Last of Us, because I'm saying The Last of Us a lot because that's a game that most of you should be familiar with. Go look at a website that rated The Last of Us 10 out of 10. Look at how, and then, you know, think about your opinion. All right, I really like The Last of Us, and I absolutely hate Call of Duty. Or think of another game that's kind of popular that you hate, and then go look up the score for that. Call of Duty and whatnot, they generally have high scores as well. They have 8.5s out of 10s and 9s out of 10s, and I don't even know, sometimes 10s out of 10s. Now, why is that? You know, how could this game score give The Last of Us such a high score, which you loved, and then this other game such a low score that you hate? Well, obviously, what they're saying is Call of Duty sets out what it's supposed to do. It does it well. You know, despite all the flaws with Call of Duty and its existence, which I'm not saying there are none, because there is, you know, the point is Call of Duty does what it's supposed to do relatively well most of the time. You know, 8.5 out of 10 well, 9 out of 10 well. You know, with a shaky story sometimes and maybe, you know, a couple bad features in multiplayer. You know, that's why Call of Duty consistently gets high scores. Even if it's a repeat, that's not something you could take off from. And likewise, you know, if The Last of Us happened to be similar to some other game, they can't take off for that. That's a little irrelevant. You could ignore that part too. But I hope that makes sense, and I hope you don't hate me for not wanting to get The Last of Us. Don't burn me at a stake or something. You know, I'm a good guy. Thanks. I'll see you.